Just filming this video feels a little bit disrespectful. I'm gonna be honest with you. All over social media recently, I've been seeing these posts pop up of people doing like orange pour-overs. Like literally it's coffee, it's a pour over, a v60, and they put an orange slice on top. And it just feels so disrespectful to the coffee, to be honest. And one, whenever I see these kind of trends, I'm always skeptical. Two, it kind of feels like maybe a way of sprucing up really bad coffee. And three, it just feels disrespectful to coffee roasters. And as a coffee roaster like myself, it really kind of hurts my feelings seeing it happen. It's like throwing a bunch of salt on food at a fancy restaurant or asking for hot sauce. It's just so disrespectful. But then at the same time, I'm all for experimentation and I'm all for trying things to make things better. Maybe the first person who added milk to espresso to make a latte felt like that was being disrespectful, and look at them go now. So I'm all for experimentation. The reason I have a giant orange slice here right now is because I'm going to do the fruit pour over or the orange pour over. I'm going to just follow our standard recipe. I haven't watched any other videos on how to do this. I'm just kind of guessing how, based on like the quick social medias I've seen. So basic pour over with an orange slice on top. Let's see if it's good. And I don't think it's going to be. So I've already pre-wet my filter and I'm going to put that onto a glass. I had a bit of a struggle of deciding which coffee to use. I wasn't sure if I should use, like a fruity coffee, one that was already fruity, or if I should use something that might complement the orange. I ended up going with a coffee that complements the orange. I'm using our Brazil. This Brazil is really, it smells a lot like Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies. There's also some hints of orange in there and caramel. So I think maybe if anything, it'll complement it the best. So that's what I've gone with. We'll throw that in. And like I said, I'm just doing our standard brew. So this is 18 grams. Almost forgot to put the orange slice on. Do you put the orange slice on before? Also, that's not gonna work. That's way too big. I've got to get a smaller orange slice. That's way too big. Okay, so we've got a couple different sizes. I wasn't really sure if we should go with like a slice or like an entire round. I think we're gonna go with the entire round. I'm also not sure if I should put this on now or bloom it first, but I think I'm just gonna put this on. This is so stupid. I hate this. Clear the scale. I didn't know what to do for water temperature because I don't want to burn the orange. I don't know if that's possible. Okay, but we're at 95 degrees. Gonna start the timer. Pouring right onto the orange. Oh my God. I'm gonna do, it's going straight through, isn't it? Yeah, because the water kind of shoots off to the side. So we're gonna do a pretty light bloom. That's 40 grams. And then now we're going to just pour right into the middle of the orange. Up to 100 grams. It feels like this is extremely light and fast. I'm assuming because the coffee is just flowing through the orange and then outside to the filter. Maybe we should have gone with chunks. Okay, at 1 minute, I'm going to add another 50 grams. And I'm just pouring right into the middle of the orange, letting it run off to the side. Maybe I just need to pour a little bit slower. Yeah, that seems to be working better. Maybe I just pour really slow to 150 grams. I can't imagine that the coffee is getting properly extracted. There's no way that when I lift this orange, there's going to be coffee wet everywhere evenly. I just don't think that's humanly possible or coffeely possible. So we're at 1 minute and 45 seconds. We're gonna keep pouring. I'm literally just gonna drip on as slowly as I can. This is so ridiculous. I can't even explain how ridiculous this is. And I can't even explain how ridiculous the fact that we're going to need to try to do it a second time with chunks to find out what works better. To do it once is bad. I know we're gonna have to do it a second time and that just hurts me. It hurts me inside. Flow rate is dripping. This is very, very light. Maybe we just needed a smaller piece of orange. Up to 250 grams. Our standard recipe is about 300 grams of water to 18 grams of coffee. It just looks so light. I do not think that the coffee is getting extracted properly. Or maybe that's just the orange. I honestly have no idea. We'll go all the way up to 300 grams. This is kind of our standard brew time, 3 minutes. So it's actually brewing correctly. It just looks really light. I honestly think what's happening is the water's hitting the orange, going straight to the filter and running past the coffee without actually extracting properly. Looks like we're through there. Take that off. I want to just lift the orange, and I'm hoping this second camera, high second camera, is showing this to see if the coffee's extracted properly, because this coffee looks so thin. I don't think that there's any way that this has been extracted properly. It looks wet. It doesn't look like there's any issue with it, other than maybe it was just too coarse. But yeah, I mean, it looks extracted. I just think maybe the water ran around the side. So let's taste this. Should I let it cool down first, or should I drink it hot? Okay, I'm gonna try to drink it, even though I think it's probably too hot. I think we need to try the second method, because it doesn't taste very coffee-y, but it also doesn't taste horrible. It's really caramelly, it's really light, it's very fresh, it's orangey. It tastes kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It almost tastes like a candied apple, but replace the apple with orange. That's kind of what it tastes like. I guess that would be called candied orange. Interesting. It definitely doesn't taste like the coffee was extracted. So I think we're gonna do this again. I think what we'll do is smaller pieces of orange and just do like 2 or 3 bits chopped up inside, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we've got another batch of 18 grams of the Brazil. I'm gonna drop that in, spread it around, and I'm gonna just drop in 2 of these pieces, or maybe even just 1. We'll see how this goes. Let's do 2 pieces. 1 like that. Gonna set it basically right in the coffee, and then the other one opposite. This way the water should extract the coffee if the coarseness is right. Okay, so let's get the whatever you call this thing, the scale started. Our water is again at 95 degrees. I have a theory that maybe our coarseness on the coffee was way too coarse last time, so we'll find out for sure this time. But basically, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna pour the water right on the lower orange slice. I hope it extracts into the coffee this time, which it's definitely doing. You can see the difference this time. It's still very light, but that's looking much more normal. So let's do the same as we normally would, about a 50-gram bloom. And actually the water is going around the oranges this time. This is definitely a better, maybe not a better technique, but a technique that gets better extraction of the coffee. Start the scale because I forgot, but that's about 30 seconds in, and I would call that bloomed. We will pour now another 50 grams on. I'm just pouring right into the middle, right on the oranges. I actually don't want to go too much because I don't want too much of the water extracting around the outside. So maybe I'll just kind of like pour, let it pass through, pour, let it pass through, rather than, you know, using a typical brew method, which would be like 50 grams every 30 seconds or whatnot. So as the grinds are less saturated, I'll just keep adding more water. You can see it's already darker than the last. Well, actually, it still looks very light, but it feels like the extraction is better at least. I actually think with this method, the orange is going to be more intense. Even though it's less orange, it seems like it's sitting in the water so much longer. Let's go all the way to 200 grams of water. Next to the other one, it doesn't look that much darker, to be honest, but it's definitely extracting properly. So I no longer have that theory of why it tastes so light. And it looks like our timing is going to be pretty good. The one thing that's noticeable is usually when you make a pour over, the coffee kind of rises up with the water, but you definitely see water sitting on top of the grind and the orange this way. And one last pour to get us to 300 grams in, and pour this right on the coffee. Okay, that's 300 grams. We'll let that run through. Our timing is exactly 3 minutes and about 30 seconds if we account the time that I forgot to start the scale. I want to try the original one now that it's colder. The smell is actually really caramel, so the coffee was extracting. It's really rich caramel, and that Chips Ahoy is still there. But it is so thin and light And the orange is there for sure. It's just not as punchy as I kind of would have expected, considering it was near boiling temperatures right on the orange. So let's take this off. I want to let this one cool down for a second and mention that I think experimenting is fun. With coffee, with anything. I love experimentational stuff. I've only seen oranges done, but as I'm pouring this, I'm thinking of things like blueberries or strawberries, or maybe something wetter like passion fruit would be really cool to try. So I'm not going to try that on this video, but at home, maybe you should try that. I think that would be really cool. This is still too warm to try. I think we'll fast forward 3 minutes. Okay, so it's cooling here too. It's cool. It's still warm, but it definitely has extracted better this time. It's quite funny. I just flipped open the oranges and the extraction's all over the place. Like the grinds they're just all over the place. So getting an even extraction is not something that's going to be easy with this method. But it's definitely extracted. I can smell the Chips Ahoy cookies and I can smell the caramel. I don't smell orange. In the taste, I definitely get both orange and the acidity of the orange. Actually, I would say it's not as bad as I expected. It's not, I still prefer the coffee on its own, but it's drinkable. Let's put it that way. And I think maybe this would be really nice on ice. So if we poured it over onto ice with some oranges in the glass already, I think that would probably be a really nice drink. And I'm almost a little bit ashamed to say that. Yeah, honestly, like I'm a little bit surprised because I was expecting this to be absolutely horrible, and it's quite good. I feel like the extraction of the coffee could have been better. I feel like it could be stronger tasting. I think that maybe that could have been done by adding hotter water, maybe 100-degree water. Using 95 degrees, what happens is you pour it onto the orange and that cools down the water a little bit, I think. So maybe the extraction could have been a little bit more intense, but I've got to be honest with you, this is drinkable. No, I don't think you should do this to your favorite coffee roaster's coffee, but maybe it's a good way to spruce up some pretty bad coffee. And I am actually gonna finish the rest of this cup. And we'll see you in the next video.